as you may know, our Candida videos have been really on fire lately. Oral Thrush was even in the headline news the other day. And, yeast and those kinds of things, yeast overgrowth. What we want to talk about today is we want to pull no punches as far as all the myths and the facts in Candida. Candida being the most misunderstood health condition, and even at its epidemic proportions for the last 20 years that I've been in the nutrition field, most professionals don't even acknowledge the existence of Candida, even though it's on a lot of side effects for different things. And it even says it on the label of certain products. So Dr. Whiting, he's been a pioneer of helping people support Candida for over 40 years. So let's go ahead and break down some of the basics. I mean, would be the good starting place would be Oral Thrush.
Well, first of all, before we get into these specifics, I've been looking online recently for Candida-related videos, and I have never seen so much misinformation in my life.
Yeah.
Most of these people are probably very sincere. Unfortunately, they are sincerely wrong. And before we get into some specifics, there is one thing you must understand that no one is talking about. There are actually two forms of Candida disorder. They're caused by the same organism, but they're very, very different. The first one is what most people are talking about, and that's what we call isolated or confined yeast overgrowth. And it is confined to the small intestine and the colon. If this is the situation a person is in, many of the things that others are talking about, such as caprylic acid, probiotics, dietary changes, etc., are likely to be at least helpful. They might even eliminate the problem if it's not been going on too long. However, most people who have developed a Candida overgrowth have had it for several years. Reason being is that most medical professionals don't acknowledge it even exists. So it goes undiagnosed, it goes untreated, it goes on and on. Well, eventually, what happens over time is the Candida organism breaks free from the intestinal tract. And that can be due to lack of gut wall integrity, leaky gut, all kinds of potential situations. Point of the matter is that once it leaves the intestines and enters the bloodstream, we now have a totally different situation. And this we call systemic candidiasis. Once the Candida organism has become systemic, the diets, the caprylic acid, the garlic, the probiotics are almost totally ineffective.
Yeah.
Another thing you need to know about the so-called Candida diet that is 100% a myth. It does not ultimately solve this problem.
It can help the symptoms.
It helps the symptoms. So in other words, if you go on these highly restrictive Candida diets where you can eat practically nothing, your symptoms will get better. But I guarantee you, the day you go off that program and start eating like a normal, healthy human being again, your symptoms will return with a vengeance. Because all it's doing is controlling symptomology. It is not addressing the cause of the problem. So, the first thing, if you suspect you have a Candida overgrowth, digestive disturbances, headache, brain fog, fatigue, lethargy, confusion,
Oral thrush,
genitourinary yeast overgrowth, toenail fungus, all of these
toenail
things
fungus,
can possibly lead or be indicative of a systemic Candida overgrowth. Because I'm so adamant about dealing with this problem, which is epidemic in proportion, at least 3 out of 5 people have had a yeast overgrowth sometime in their life. Why? Because of several factors. So let's break down what the main causes of Candida overgrowth are. And there are several subclasses, but the main one is antibiotic abuse.
Yeah.
Medicine gives an antibiotic.
And that just kind of makes it explode.
Oh, it can very easily, yes. Steroid use, birth control medication, and of course, it can be sexually transmitted from one person to another. And
I think what a lot of people think is the diet caused it. But in reality, when you get to those points, people always tell you that, oh, well, if I cut out sugar, it'll stop it, right? But that doesn't really, it's just kind of putting a Band-Aid over it.
Right. All it's doing is making you feel better.
Which is a good thing, but
then again, if anybody stops eating excess sugar, they're going to feel better.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you that diet does not cause Candida.
Yeah.
That's the next big myth. Oh, it's our terrible diet that causes this Candida overgrowth. Wrong.
Well, then all the kids would have it.
Exactly. Exactly. Because we're all eating this junk food diet. Some of us don't admit it, but we are. And if diet caused this problem, you're right. Everybody would have it. Lots of people do, but not everybody. And so remember, diet does not cause this situation, and dietary restrictions will not eliminate it. They will make you feel better for the short term, but they will not eliminate. I've had practitioners tell me, oh, once you have Candida, you have to go on the Candida diet, and you have to stay on it for life. Yeah. Well, that doesn't sound like a cure or an elimination of the problem. Yeah. It sounds like a bandage that you're changing every day. So understand that once the Candida becomes systemic, the only thing that we've ever been able to find is an oxygenated supplement. A supplement that is perfectly safe, and it increases the oxygen level of the blood and soft tissues. You see, Candida albicans, which is the organism, along with many molds, fungus, even some parasites, are what we call anaerobic in nature. So in other words, they survive in a low oxygen environment. And you combine that low oxygen environment together with adequate moisture, and you're off to the races. Yeah. Now, a lot of people have an blood oxygen level below optimum because we don't exercise anymore. We're not active.
Yeah.
And that is a compounding problem. A low oxygen level will not cause Candida, but it'll make it devilishly hard for you to get rid of it. So by increasing the oxygen level of the blood and soft tissues over time, we can help the body to eliminate these anaerobic organisms. And yes, we do recommend cutting out certain foods, especially during the process, because it'll make you feel better. Yeah. And there's no reason to be miserable. But understand that those dietary restrictions that you all hate, but you do it because you're desperate, won't solve your problem.
Yeah. And so you can actually take the symptom test, and it's just a self-test on Dr. Whiting's website, thecandidaclinic.com. And there's a phone number there that you can call him. And if you suspect you have systemic Candida, it might be a good place to start, especially if you've been searching for a while and you keep getting all this misinformation. It might be a great place to start. And I think soon we should do a video on aerobic versus anaerobic. I think so. If you're new here, you definitely want to subscribe, because we're gonna do a video coming up soon about anaerobic versus aerobic.
Aerobic.
Yeah, because
organism.
I think it'll be good.